I don't think there's a more physically gifted team than the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFL. In terms of the talent that they have, and I'm gonna say this in the most polite way possible, they have more freaks on their team than anybody else in football. I mean physical freaks. And the reason I bring this up is I was talking to CJ Uzama at his locker and he goes, you know what, in the tight end room, we actually talk about this a lot. Like, there are some guys in this room that are just not built like anybody else in the league. I don't know what you're doing, but okay. Jordan Mailata is 6'8".
You just threw me off with that one.
How'd you want me to put it? Physically gifted, original individuals?
I like that one. Better than them freaks.
But if you look at the way some of the guys in this locker room are, that type of player, it's not really around the league. Like Jordan Mailata is 6'8", 365 at left tackle.
Yeah.
And he can run like the wind blows. He's a rugby player. Like, it's unbelievable. Like Jordan Davis, the guy can like put it through his legs and dunk at like as a nose. Like Jalen Carter, like Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown might be the most physical, gifted receiver in the league possibly. Like the number of guys that they have that can just really, Mekhi Becton was saying this, Steve, in the locker room, that we knew like when you can just impose your will on another man and another an offensive line doing to a defensive line, there's no better feeling in the world. They can do that to teams.
Well, you brought it up, so I'll follow up. Mekhi Becton moving over to guard has been fantastic. Smart move. I believe the way Mekhi has been playing, he was not used in the way he should have been used in New York. And I kind of look at Mekhi playing guard the same way I kind of look at Ike Ekwonu playing guard, should be switching to guard here in Carolina. He's a heavy-handed guy, and sometimes when you're heavy-handed in the way he is, Mekhi Becton, that sometimes you're a little bit slower and you're throwing haymakers. But their offensive line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles,
Jeff Stoutland,
is one of the best offensive linemen known to mankind. He is a hell of a coach. And Mekhi Becton getting dealt and released and treated the way he was in New York, I believe helped, because he was a first-round draft pick. He had these unrealistic expectations. He was just going to fall out of bed and get his work done. And it didn't work out that way. And he fell into a great system with some quality coaches. Not saying that coaches in New York aren't quality, but it was a quality coach that he needed in his life.
Yeah.
And I just love what's going on and I would just watch him. And I was like, man, I'm just so happy for him. So I'm happy for Mekhi. Also, another person that I want to bring up is Kellen Moore. I've been very harsh because I just remember he would do some things with the Cowboys as offense coordinator. He was just trying to be too cute at times. He was trying to interview and become a head coach instead of just being okay in the spot he was in. And just watching how he's evolved and really establishing the run game. Right before the first half ended, the offense seemed to know exactly what they needed to do. Kellen Moore found a great rhythm in play calling, which just continued in the second half. This Philly offense in the first half, they are slow, methodical. They go in there and say, okay, this is what we got to do. This is what we don't have to do. This is working. This is not working. And all of a sudden, they figure it out. And when they explode, it's ridiculous. Just wow.
Well, they maul you up front, Steve. You're mentioning Mekhi Becton. You're mentioning, you got two tackles that are outstanding in Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. I don't think anybody really talks, and I was talking to Eagles coaches on the sideline before the game, what Cam Jurgens has done coming in, replacing Jason Kelce. You don't replace a future Hall of Famer, right? I mean, that's a tough spot to come into, and you go and play center for this team at a really, really high level early. They've loved the way he's played. And Saquon Barkley was telling us after the game, I mean, these holes I'm going through are the biggest I've seen in my career. I mean, I got all the room in the world to run.
Huge. And
I think what we've seen is the addition of Saquon to this team. What has it impacted? I think one player specifically is Jalen Hurts. It has taken a lot of the run game off of his shoulders. I think that helps the offense as a whole.
Oh, run that back. goes up to the middle. Look, the center's up on the second level. But hold on now. Don't shortchange my guy that throws the block, number 18. Who's number 18?
Is that Covey?
Yes, that's Covey.
Covey coming back. It's a great block.
That's Covey.
It's a great block. And so I think with Saquon's arrival and what he can do with explosive plays, what they have added is a perfect player except for one trait.
What?
To show their thanks, Underdog is stuffing the lobby with promos during their feast week. We're talking profit boosts, discounts, gimme picks, and so much more. And if you bring your friends to the table during their Refer a Friend event, well, you'll both be eating on Underdog. Sign up with promo code UD89 and enjoy this bountiful feast. He is too unselfish, Steve. I had a great conversation pregame with their running back coach, Jamal Singleton, who's an outstanding guy. And he is having the time of his life right now, obviously coaching Saquon Barkley. He told me he is the perfect player, character-wise, work ethic-wise. Every day he wants to be coached harder than he was the day before. He's like, you know what that does for my entire room? Every little thing, coach, what if we did this? What if we did this? How does this make me better in this? How does this make me better in that? And he said, the other part that nobody talks about is his running mate in the room in Kenneth Gainwell. And he goes, Kenny works out every day like a monster. And Saquon is in there with him every day.
That's dope.
With the relationship that those two have developed, he said that has changed our whole offense. You know why? If you saw Kenny Gainwell get that touchdown on Sunday night, who was the guy running all the way down to the end zone to greet him, who was out of the game? Saquon Barkley. First guy, all the way down.
You get excited. You get excited for other guys.
Excited for your other guy. And so he said the way these two have pushed each other, I don't think people understand. So I talked to Kenny after the game. He said, listen, man, he's like, I grind in the weight room every day. Nobody understands how much I can lift. Talk to Saquon. Saquon's like, nobody talks about this. Kenny's squatting the same stuff I'm squatting.
What?
He's working the same way I'm working, which is like, what? And so he's like, people don't understand how physical of a back he is. The trait that I said that Saquon's lacking, the selfishness. Jamal told me there are times when Kenny's rolling. Saquon says, keep him in the game. He's rolling. Keep him in. I'll stay here. Keep him in, right? Do you remember earlier in the season when they were playing the Giants and he had the chance to break the record against the Giants? Sirianni went and sat next to him, right? He said, no, let the kids eat. He'd probably be even closer to breaking these records, Steve, if he was a little bit more selfish. But it's a fascinating season to watch because that goes through your locker room. He's about as humble of a superstar as you can have. And I think it's been really impressive to see what Saquon Barkley has done. So I got to ask you this. Does he have a legitimate chance of winning MVP?
He does.
Which, let's just be clear, is a quarterback award, it seems.
Man, that's the thing. These quarterbacks be getting it. But you also got to give Jared Goff some love, too.
Big time. I put Goff and Josh Allen and Lamar still in the conversation. And
Lamar still in this is just
Jared
me.
Goff's playing great.
We always kind of put Josh Allen in this category, and I just don't see it.
Really?
Sometimes it just doesn't seem as flashy as some of the other guys. Like, he doesn't put up huge numbers. He's running, but he doesn't have those like dynamic running plays that we see. He has some, but he doesn't have the Lamar.
Fourth down. I mean,
I know. He has that one, but he doesn't have enough like Lamar has 4 or 5 a game.
You're talking about the one, and I think you're spot on with this because what wins you awards, is wow plays. Like, they stick in people's minds.
He doesn't have a lot of wow plays. He has a lot of get it done plays, right? He boop, boop, boop. You know, the run against the Chiefs, that's a wow play.
It is.
But he doesn't have that every game. Bills Mafia fans will say that. He does. But when you put him up against the Lamar Jackson, now Jared Goff, now Saquon Barkley, it's like, okay. Like, it's just, he's simmering. He's not boiling to me.
I think, like, speaking of the wow plays, like, I think what helps Saquon's case is the reverse jump. Like,
yes.
Like, that he needs a couple more of those. He needs this game, 300 yards from scrimmage. I mean, that's insane. Yes. And it was funny because Jamal was telling me, he goes, I have to coach this guy and I want your take on this because you played this game at an unbelievably high level. He goes, I have to coach this guy different than any other back I've coached in over 20 years. Why? Because he can do things that no other running back I've ever coached can do. So he actually pushes me as a coach to change some of my rules. He goes, I don't like when guys jump. I think you're vulnerable. I think the ball's vulnerable. I think there's a lot of things that are not playing in your favor when you leave your feet. But I have to coach differently with this player because he can do things that nobody else can do. So then I got to find different little avenues that we can exaggerate some of those traits, which I found fascinating as a coach.
Yeah, he's just a heck of an athlete. The fact that he jumped over and was backwards, that was crazy.
Which is crazy. So I do think for his chance to win the MVP, I think he cannot do it unless he breaks one of the two. Unless he breaks Eric Dickerson's record for most rushing yards in a season, or he breaks Chris Johnson's record for most scrimmage yards in a season. I think he has to break one of those to have a chance to win the MVP because he almost needs that as a running back.
Yeah, I agree with you. You got me. I agree.
Oh, cool.